I realized the moment I fell into the fissure that the book would not be destroyed as I had planned. It continued falling into that starry expanse of which I had only a fleeting glimpse. I've tried to speculate where it might have landed, but I must admit that such conjecture is futile. Still, questions about whose hands might one day hold my Myst book are unsettling to me. I know my apprehensions might never be allayed, and so I close, realizing that perhaps the ending has not yet been written.
Hello everybody, and this is Wheel Trouble. Welcome to Let's Play Myst. This is the first of the Myst franchise from Cyan Studios. This was written by the Miller brothers, Rand and Robin. This game was one of the more popular that helped keep the CD-ROM afloat. Also, it has been released in a numerous amount of formats. This is actually one of the re-releases, not the original, so there's a little extra content at the end we'll get into in the last chapter. Hope everyone enjoys this. Here we go. This game works very similar to Abduction in the sense that we link from one world to another. In this case, we link to other worlds via what's known as linking books. We have two options. We can go with Classic or Free Roam. I'm going with Free Roam as it tends to add a little bit more to this game. We start off here on the dock. realMyst is wonderful because unlike the original point and click where we just click from picture to picture, we can actually walk and explore the environment here. It is done on Unity, so from time to time swift movements will end up smearing from one image to another. Catherine, I've left for you a message of utmost importance in our 4-chamber beside the dock. Enter the number of marker switches on the island into the imager to retrieve the message. Yours, Atris. Alright, looks like we need to count marker switches. Those are the triangle-shaped podiums that we see, podia. So there's 1, 2, 3 on that little clock tower out there. Let's see. 4 at the cabin. Five, 6, 7, and 8. In the original game, there were 4 worlds. Each of those podia corresponds with a direction that we can face the tower. We'll learn more about the tower here in a few moments. First, let's go ahead and go down into this little cave. Interesting looking cauldron. Actually, this is a hollow imager. The controls for it are back here on our right. Let's go ahead and spin around to see that a little better. Do you see that panel? It's right behind that. These are the different options we have. We have the topographical extrusion, marker switch, diagram, and turbulent pool. Let's just get to the message. So down to 8. Let's see what that message is.
Catherine, my love, I have to leave quickly. Something terrible has happened. It's hard for me to believe. Most of my books have been destroyed. Catherine, it's one of our sons. I suspect Agamemnon, but I shouldn't leap to conclusions. I'll find him and Cirrus as well. Oh, I should have known better than to have left my library unchecked for so long. Well, I've removed the remaining undamaged books from the library and placed them in their places of protection. You shouldn't have to use the books until I return, but if you've forgotten the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Oh, and don't worry, Catherine. Everything will be fine. I'll see you shortly. Oh, and erase this message after you've viewed it, just to be safe.
Seeing as how we're not Catherine, well, one of you might be, but I'm not. We're gonna go ahead and just move on, since we have no clue how to erase the message. Just to double check, let me go ahead and show you what that marker switch looks like. Pardon the slurring, it has been a long day. I've not had anything to drink, I promise you. That is in the on position. So our goal right now is going to be to turn all of the switches to the on position so that when we get to that tower rotation phase, everything will be visible. And so here we go. The sunken ship. The entrance to the mechanical age. This would be a wonderful place to just sit and relax for an afternoon. You couldn't do this in the original game. You couldn't go behind the buildings. So that was a nice feature. That's a planetarium. It'll come in handy later. Here's this rocket ship. It doesn't actually fly anywhere, so don't get your hopes up. It's just a very odd room. And when I first played this, it was a puzzle that I didn't quite understand. My first time playing this, I was a freshman in high school. This is the lock system to that sunken ship. The lock system to the rocket ship. The lock system to some nice wooded area. Now, how are we going to turn that on? In the abduction, I'd mentioned using a method called brute force to get through a lock system. We're going to brute force this. What brute forcing is, it's when you try every possible combination, one at a time, starting at the very first, in this case 12 o'clock, and we're going to keep going in 5-minute intervals until we actually find the correct solution. So we rotate the big hand around, press the button, just like you would with a regular clock. And then once we get back around to the 12 position with the minute hand, we're going to move the hours one notch. The good thing about this puzzle is there's not terribly many possibilities that it could be, so we're not going to lose too much time with me showing you how to brute force this. And yes, like abduction, all of the answers are in the game and there is an answer to get across to here. The problem with trying to do it is when you're trying to line up the tower, you're doing a best guess. And brute forcing it just makes that part of the puzzle so much easier. It's one less thing to worry about. 230, 240, 235, sorry, and 240. There we go. For those of you who've never actually heard of this franchise, I do recommend waiting before diving in too quickly, and wait till I'm done with the Riven, or play Riven on your own. That's one of the few games that's still available. You might want to get it on PlayStation or on emulator. And there's that tower rotation. Here's these books. Let's see what the deal is here.
I'm serious. Give it up. Go. There is one thing I need to rescue.
And that would be character 1, Cirrus. As I was saying, wait till I've done Riven or you've played Riven, then I recommend diving into the novels. Exile is also a lot of fun. Supposedly it's available on some console, don't remember which one. Myst 4 right now is unplayable on anything except for Legacy Box. Myst 5 I have not checked. Uru is available on Steam for PC. I'm trying it out right now. Odds are I'll do a Let's Play of it as well, since most of these are going into Legacy mode. And even Good Old Games is having trouble with them.
Serious? Is that you? Are you? See you. Can help me. Bring blue pages. Never. Pages. I must have the blue page. Bring them to me.
And there we have it. You've now been introduced to all 3 of the main characters in this game, other than ourselves. Next, we're going to go ahead and read through the library, what's left of it, and as we can see, most of these books have seen better days. The books that we're able to read are the books that correspond to the ages we're actually able to play. So we're going to read all of those first so that when we bounce to each age, we have an easier time just absorbing it. And from the sounds of it, each world that we go to, we're going to be looking for 2 pages, one red, one blue. I have called this age Channelwood, and it is a very different world. Though it is exactly how I imagined it, it is still amazing to see it with my own eyes. Water covers this age as far as I can see except for a small rocky island. Elsewhere, there are only trees, which grow directly out of the water. A myriad of thin wooden passageways are built just above the water and disappear into the forest. I assume they were built some time ago, for they appear aged. I am eager to discover more about this land and its people, but I have arrived here late and I must rest. I was awakened this morning by strange noises coming from a pathway adjacent to the one on which I had slept. I saw a group of monkey-like people heading in my direction. They had not seen me yet. I did not feel threatened by their presence. Their response to me was one that I would have never expected. After staring at me for a short time, they fell to their knees and began what appeared to be some sort of ceremonial worship. I tried to speak to them, but they did not understand my language. Instead, they indicated through enthusiastic hand motions that I was to follow them. As we walked, I began to notice that the waters below us were changing colors. Slowly, subtly, they would change from deep blue to muddy orange, then from muddy orange to beautifully clear. I was so intrigued by the water that I hardly noticed that we had arrived at a ladder. Climbing the ladder led us to their village, which is about 10 meters above the water, and can only be reached by rope ladders that stretch from the lower paths to the village level approximately halfway up the grand trees. It is very interesting watching these people carry out their daily tasks. Even after watching them for hours, I did not understand exactly what they were doing. At sunset, they motioned for me to follow them. I followed the creatures to the doorway of an enormous hut. Strangely, once inside, I found that the hut appeared even larger than it had from the outside. The walls were garnished with bright metals, and in the center of the hut sat the leader of these people. At least he appeared to be the leader, for he sat a meter off the floor in a thick throne. Guards surrounded the strong creature, who was dressed in many exotic, colorful fabrics. Next to the leader sat a very old human. At least to some extent he appears human. His hair, which was only on his face and head, was completely gray, almost white, and hung very long around his frail body. His thin head hung limply by an almost grotesque neck that could not hold its head up to look at me, but what a surprise! This creature could speak my language. Shortly thereafter, I was given a bed with some hand motions that looked to be telling me to go to sleep. I look forward to learning more. As I suspected, the ancient creature is a human, but he is old beyond his own reckoning and seems almost insane. However, the tree dwellers almost revere him as a god. They are treating me now in the same fashion, which makes me feel very uncomfortable. It is almost impossible to understand this old man. His voice is feeble but wild. He has adopted much of the language of the tree dwellers. He himself told me that he has not spoken our own tongue in ages. He attempted to explain to me the history of this place. The following is my best translation of what he has told me. Many years ago, the humans and the tree dwellers lived together in this place, which was then a vast island. They interacted very little. The humans dwelt on the ground, and the tree dwellers lived high above the humans. Occasionally, the island was disturbed by mysterious rumblings, which happened randomly. Some sort of tectonic or volcanic action, I suspect. The sometimes slight, sometimes heavy tremors would only last a short time. Then they would stop, allowing everything to return to normal. One day, things changed. The rumbling began and grew quickly, to unprecedented levels. Soon it became apparent that the entire island was sinking slowly into the ocean around them. Many of the humans died that day, but not before sacrificing themselves in order to stop the sinking of the island. The humans who lived through this catastrophe moved into the trees where they gradually died out, maybe because they were unequipped for such an environment, but I'm not sure. This is the story the old man communicated to me, although many details are very unclear in my mind. I am especially confused as to how the humans saved the island from completely sinking. In fact, I doubt the accuracy of that part of the story. The island must have stopped on its own, yet the old man believes in the truth of the story as if he had been there, and the tree dwellers worship him and apparently all humans as if they were heroes or gods. The old man ended our conversation today with an event which I will never forget. He began gripping my hands tightly, murmuring something about rest and asleep. He then said, "We had expected you to come sooner." These actions filled me with a sort of immediate dread. With much effort, he stood to his feet. I tried to help, but he pushed me away with more force than I imagined his frail body contained. The tree dwellers quietly surrounded him with very solemn faces. They then kneeled before him. He walked to each and placed his hand on their heads. All the while he murmured words which I did not understand. Finally he turned to me and smiled. He then closed his eyes and walked out the door and off the narrow path high in the trees. The tree dwellers were silent. They began a procession down the nearest rope ladder. As I was descending, I saw several of them pick up the body. He had fallen onto a lower level of walkway and carry it away. He was laid down at the dead end of a short pier-like structure. With the use of some potion, one of the tree creatures lit the pier on fire, and I watched as the flames engulfed him. As this strange funeral proceeded, the waters around the pier changed to a dull green. This morning, I awoke, finding it hard to even believe the previous evening's events. The water is a dull green, for as far as I can see now, for some reason, the water no longer shifts color. As I wandered throughout the pathways, the creatures watch me, curious to see what I will do next. They are constantly offering me strange objects of affection. I even found food outside the doorway to the room in which I had slept. This is a unique race of beings. I hope to learn their language soon so that I may learn more from them. I have lived on this world for 3 months off and on, and the tree dwellers have shown great hospitality. I am even beginning to learn bits of their language. I have decided to return home for an extended stay with my loving wife and my sons, and hopefully return with them. However, I am sure Catherine will once again refuse. I think this age would be a wonderful experience for them all, and I at least look forward to how Cirrus and Achenar will react to its curious inhabitants. Catherine is staying behind as expected. My sons have returned with me, and they enjoy this age very much. They get along very well with the tree dwellers and are picking up their language surprisingly fast. I have no doubt that it will not be too long until they can speak with the tree dwellers much better than myself. I am leaving tomorrow. To check on Osmoian age. Cirrus has suggested that I allow him and his brother to stay. Though the idea unsettles me, I know the boys are growing up rapidly. The hospitality of these creatures is such that I could think of no better place to leave them alone for a short while, so I will consent to their request. I warned the boys not to take advantage of the respect the tree dwellers have for their ideas. They seem to understand my warning, and I have faith they will follow it. Much to my dismay upon arriving in Everdunes, I learned that Pran and her people are continuing to be menaced by the Chachtik. I fear for their survival and plan on returning to her shortly after checking on Cirrus and Achenar here. See Everdunes Journal for more information. After watching Cirrus and Achenar, I see they are handling things very well, and I think I can put to rest any fears about leaving them in Channelwood again. And for a little longer this time. The tree dwellers seem slightly distressed that I am leaving, but are happy that Cirrus and Achenar are staying behind again. I have been gone for over 3 days, and have been to many different places. I had to tell Cirrus and Achenar about Pran's death today, and they were visibly shaken. Although they only remembered her from their childhood, Catherine has suggested that it would be wise for Cirrus and Achenar to leave Channelwood for a while, and I have to agree. They will be returning with me when I leave again. I have told my sons that they will be returning with me in 2 days. They spent the entire night telling me of an adventure they experienced in my absence, and it was rather remarkable. It seems they constructed a boat with the creatures and traveled some ways out into the surrounding waters. I enjoy hearing them talk excitedly of their adventures. And am reminded of my own adventures as a child. I finally understand why the tree dwellers have been giving me their many inks and insisting I write with them. Looking through some of my past entries, I see now that the inks have changed from the black I thought they were to various different colors. I have shown some of the creatures my journal, and they laughed and howled. I did not know they had such a sense of humor. Even now, as I look through this very colorful journal, I cannot help but laugh myself. We will be returning tomorrow, so my sons are with the creatures for the last night here. They have told me that they would like to come to Channelwood again, and also asked if they can visit some of the other ages alone. Though I will have to think over their request, I believe they have proven to me that they are trustworthy and responsible. Catherine will also have to help me decide whether they are ready for travel alone. For now I must give my farewells to the creatures, for I do not know how long it will be until I visit this age again. Emmett was the first to live on the rocks. He named them the rocks because that is what they were, a group of sharp rocks clustered together in the middle of a large sea. This was where Emmett lived. He enjoyed his life. Emmett would occasionally swim to nearby rocks as it was never too far of a distance. One day, another person appeared on the rocks for no apparent reason to Emmett. Emmett named this new person Branch. Emmett and Branch quickly became friends, swimming and hunting for fish together often. Emmett showed Branch the simple cave in which he lived on the largest rock. Soon, Branch discovered a place where he decided to live, also on the same large rock. The sun always shone brightly in their world, and the water was always dazzlingly clear, allowing them to see almost to the deep ocean floor which surrounded them. Though the sun always shone, it was never too hot for the boys. A light breeze always came from the north and cooled the area down. One day, while Branch was swimming and having fun in the water, he noticed another boy swimming. Branch brought the new boy to Emmett to find out what to call the new boy. Emmett said the boy should be called Will. Will was soon part of the group, and all 3 of the boys swam and enjoyed their perfect world. At least, this is the story I was told when I arrived today on the island. Emmett, Branch, and Will were surprised to see me at first, but even before the night ended we were all becoming good friends. Today, the second day on this newly created age, a strange thing happened. It was not strange to me, but the three boys did not understand what was happening. While I was relaxing under a large tree on one of the smaller Rock Island, it began to rain. It was a nice rain that lasted for about an hour in the morning. I explained to the boys that the rain was not harmful, yet they obviously still feared it. Before going to sleep tonight, I told the boys I would leave the following day. I told them that while I was gone, I would make a surprising change in their world. They didn't understand, not that I expected them to. I still do not fully understand what happened today. I was experimenting with the art, testing the limits of the rules as dictated to me by Father. I attempted to create a boat by riding it into the world. I thought everything was planned correctly, yet somehow the boat had become gripped by the rock and broken in half. Although this test did not turn out as I had hoped, I now have answers to a few of the questions my father never answered. As for the boat, I can see the boys enjoy it anyway, and with that I am pleased. They have played on it all day. Even though the boat cannot move, I have enjoyed studying from it. It is a much sturdier platform than the jagged rocks. In the course of my observations, I have learned some very interesting things regarding the solar system of this age. The nights are absolutely beautiful here. I have made a note of and named a number of constellations that pass above me. Also during the night, I catch glimmers of light from the horizon which I have not been able to discover if it is created by some natural phenomenon or by additional people on far-off islands or rocks. I should very much like to discover which. I rather suspect it is additional people, which would explain the appearance of Branch and Will. The rain today was slightly heavier than usual. Just when the boys were getting used to the light rains, a small storm arrived. They were frightened of the heavier rain, not to mention of the thunder and lightning. If rain has never fallen here until recently, as the boys tell me, I would like to discover why it is falling now. Regardless, I have decided to return home for a short while. I have also been thinking of some plans for a lighthouse that I hope to construct soon. I think that perhaps by shining a bright light toward the horizon, it might prove my suspicions regarding additional inhabitants. They would be curious about the light and travel to discover its source, if they have the means. I returned with many tools that I will need for construction of the lighthouse. I have decided that once the lighthouse is completed, I will leave for some time and let the world's own imagination have control. We have worked 3 weeks on the lighthouse and now are making great progress. The rock that we are building on seems to not be as secure as I would like. I have had to alter my plans slightly, but those alterations pose no real problem. The boys are quite strong and have been helping me immensely. I estimate construction will be done within 2 days. The lighthouse is finished, and we are all proud of our creation. The boys are amazed at the structure wrought from the rock with their own hands. That evening we powered up the generator, much to the boys' dread at first, and shined a great light to the horizon for many hours. I stayed the night in the top of the lighthouse and in the morning awoke to observe the sunrise without my being coated in the chilly blanket of ocean dew I had become accustomed to. It was Will who first saw the girl. She was swimming not far from the boat where Will was getting ready to hunt for fish. Then Will noticed a man not far away from the girl. Emmett was very pleased to meet the additional neighbors. I feel pleased to leave this age. I have set in motion events that have nothing to do with writing, or the art, that will have a more profound impact on this world than I could have ever written. I think of it, this age as a gift to myself that I will wrap up and open someday in the future, only to discover that it has changed so much that indeed it is a surprise. Besides, I have yet another new age that awaits me. It seems I'm going to need some way to travel underwater in this new age, and so much planning is in order. It has been 10 years since I left this age, which I have since called the Stone Ship Age. Upon returning, I cannot believe the changes that have taken place. The original 3 boys have grown into adults, and there are many new faces that I do not recognize. Branch told me that it has not rained for 7 years, and the cool breezes are back again. They are all very content and have been serving me with new foods and showing me new materials they have discovered. It even seems they have found gold somewhere. I see it in many forms around the island. My lighthouse has been kept in perfect condition, and it looks as if they have tried their very best to keep it so. Yet I have noted that the entire rock it was built on has sunk approximately 40 or 50 centimeters. After a wonderful visit with my old friends, I wonder aloud with them what things will be like here in another 10 years. And that will be it for Chapter 1 of Let's Play Myst. Hope you guys enjoyed it so far. In Episode 2, we're going to go ahead and finish reading the books in this library, and then we'll get on to some gameplay, starting with the Channelwood Age. See you next time.